2, 3.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Idiomatic Top 3.
With Nicholas, I am the gaming correspondent for Idiomatic.
That was really short. I'm Pam. I have way too much time to think about stuff that doesn't mean anything.
Nick, I advise you to put your pants back on because clearly you're distracting Pamela. It was a joke about it being short. Haha!
Alright.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic, and makers of raunchy little comments, and also movie critic. And, well, first of all, welcome, Pam. It's your first recording with us.
I know, you've been badgering me for years.
I have. But maybe I asked you twice about the podcast. Well, today, to get you all warmed up, we thought we'd start with a really accessible topic.
Accessible.
Accessible.
Mm-hmm. Like a ramp.
Our individual top 3 things we can't believe we used to like. Why don't you get us started, Pam?
Great, put me on the spot.
Yes.
Well, let's do this in chronological order then, shall we? It is tragic that I used to like Three's Company.
Your number 3 is Three's Company.
Three's Company, yes. I see why they made the show in the first place. The idea of a man living with 2 women in a platonic relationship, absolutely shocking. But then why did they have to make him a horn dog?
I used to watch it all the time in syndication when I was a kid. Like, it was like 5 p.m.
I'm not that old, sweetie. I had to watch it in syndication, too.
Alright. And
Never mentioned anything, but okay.
He did! He said it's because I'm old!
But I used to love it as a kid, though. I used to watch it all the time and thought John Ritter is so funny. And I still think he's funny. Well, less so since he's dead, but...
Thankfully.
I went there. But yeah, they're passing now, again, in like some of the specialty networks on television, and wow, none of it is remotely funny.
No. Suzanne Summers can't act. She can only hawk diet products.
There's also, because we have sort of evolved the whole, like, he must pass for gay, and whenever the landlord shows up, he must act gay thing is so uncomfortable in today's context.
It's a little bit outdated, it's true. The landlords themselves were absolutely pathetic. Mr. Farley, the dirty old man, and Mr. and Mrs. Roper.
Yeah, which had their own spin-off eventually as well.
Did they really?
Yeah, it lasted like something like 7 episodes. Not great.
Nice.
Most spin-offs don't last much more than 7 episodes. Frasier maybe being the only stellar exception.
Yeah, what, did it go 10 years?
10 years or something like that, yeah.
That means Kelsey Grammer has played Frasier for like 20 years.
It's sad. It probably means that Frasier has more of a personality than Kelsey Grammer does.
Oh no, have you read his Wikipedia entry? I do not think so. The man has lived. Actually, listeners, while you're listening to this, if you're surfing the web, take the time. Type Kelsey Grammer on Wikipedia and read the funkiest Wikipedia entry so far. It is so weird. Full of intrigue, murder, and battery. And odd little details, such as somebody being murdered next to Red Lobster, as if that part was important.
Yeah.
Nick's number 3.
Number 3, great show I used to love, and now you watch it and I was like, this is so sweet, it's just sickening. Full House.
Ugh. I used to love that as a kid.
Yeah.
I can't say that I liked it at all.
And, you thought it was funny too. Oh, Bob Saget's hilarious for some reason.
No.
And now you're like, oh, this is just bad. None of them have proper comedic timing. It's just they just throw jokes, and maybe they'll be funny. And yeah, it's horrible.
Well, the thing about it is that a lot of the jokes are geared towards getting a reaction from the children, and since the children are, they're too young to be proper actors per se, certainly in that context. Because I'm not saying that we don't have great child actors.
Or that children need to be pandered to.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, they're trying to get a reaction from the children actors so that they can have a cute reaction to whatever Uncle Joey or Uncle makes really bad imitations does.
I don't even remember his name. Dave Coulier was the actor, right?
Yeah.
It's Uncle Jesse, I think. No, Uncle Joey is. Joey is the
bad comedic actor.
Oh, okay.
Jesse.
The Uncle Jesse is John Stamos. Okay.
There you go. The only reason I watched it because John Stamos was hot, and I say was because now I don't think I agree.
Yeah, I mean, John Stamos, let's face it, for a lot of us, he's a god. He married Rebecca Romaine for a while.
He did,
Yeah.
he did.
And lived in Disney World with her. I mean...
They lived in Disney World?
Yeah, they lived in
Disney World. I
Disney
had no
World.
idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder if he's still drumming for the Beach Boys.
Yeah, he is actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But all that being said, my focus was on DJ back in the day.
Candace Cameron.
Candace Cameron. I had the biggest crush on Candace Cameron. I used to daydream that I would start my own show that was like half improv and half scripted, and she and I would be in it, and we'd be awesome together.
No, I'm fairly certain Kirk Cameron would never let that happen.
Yeah, he's one of those super conservative, uber Christian guys.
Uber Christian. Blah, makes my skin crawl. Next.
But
and I used to like him too.
No, I mean, the important thing about the comedy is really it has to be funny. And when you rewatch it and the jokes don't work and they're just relying on, cuteness to be funny, and I don't know how that works exactly now, it just fails completely as a show, really.
Nothing to hold it together.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. And it's weird also because they put all the emphasis on the Olsen twins playing the youngest daughter. And, they were pretty awful. Already dreaming of corporate takeovers with their fashion industry instead of focusing on the acting.
Yeah.
And it occurs to me when I watched it again is that the middle girl, I don't know what her name is, was actually the best young actress in the bunch. She actually had some potential, and she never went anywhere.
No. Didn't she end up drug addicted?
Oh, did she?
I think so.
Oh,
I seem to
go.
remember what happened to them kind of episode, and yeah, I think she did.
Wow. Well, that's what happens. You got to give yourself to the craft, right? And when you did at a young age, what do you do?
Yeah. No, it's middle child syndrome. That's what the problem is.
Yeah.
My number 3. I'm going to the movies instead of TV shows. And I am going with a 1987 movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm talking about Predator.
Only saw it once. Didn't enjoy it then.
No?
No.
See, I'm not surprised. Most guys love that movie. If we had Frank and Chris and Eric over, they'd be like, Frank in particular would be like, "How dare you? Predator was amazing." And it's like,
it was ridiculous. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Dennis, certainly. I actually literally had that fight with Dennis. And I mean literal fight. There was kung fu dropping kicks and all that.
I wish I'd seen it.
And, well, yeah, but it didn't make a good podcast recording for some reason. So.
I'm not a good play-by-play guy,
Boy.
so it's like...
No, you just need the old Batman and Robin sound effects to go along with it, and then at least we'd have an idea of what was going on.
You realize that's just a trumpet sound. The sound effects were actual visuals.
That's true. I forgot that part. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's your first time. You get 1. 1!
Good thing that the audience can't see what I'm doing right.
She is pointing the middle finger at Dimitri.
Thank you for stating the obvious, Mr. Willett. Move on.
Also, just raising it, not pointing it. So there you go.
That's why I said I'm bad at play-by-play.
But it doesn't surprise me that you wouldn't like Predator the first time around, because it is so sexist. Like, back in the 80s, bigger than life, 80s, you must be macho man, and I was just an impressionable kid, and like, none of that really registered. Mm-hmm. I was too young to really care about feminism and all of that stuff. And it was just some kick-ass dudes doing kick-ass things and fighting an evil alien, yeah. But like, when you watch it again, like, and you look at the power dynamics, the idea that like, oh, you're a woman, you shouldn't hold a gun. It's like, seriously? Like, seriously, 1987, you're a woman, you shouldn't hold a gun? That passes in mainstream entertainment? That's crazy.
I know. I thought they didn't give her a gun so she would have her life safe, because, the Predator was a hunter, and if she wasn't armed, she wouldn't be a valuable prey.
Yeah, that's eventually their argument, but why are the other men not worth saving? It's like, oh, you're a man, you can hold a weapon.
Yeah, because they have to fight the Predator, because they're men.
Exactly. It's just so backwards.
I'm not even going to enter this conversation. I don't think it's worth it.
I don't mind the sexism, really. I think it's product of its time. It's fine. The real problem I have with it, it's a small problem, is that the action is not that great. It has action in it, but compared to other movies, that you can do better, really.
Oh, come on, really? Shooting at trees with nothing going on, that does not get your rocks off?
Shooting guns, it might have been exciting. Like you said, when we were younger, oh, they're shooting machine guns. This is awesome. It's like, yeah, now you see, they shoot machine guns on Mythbusters, for crying out loud.
It's because the movie has no heart.
Or plot.
But if you take, let's say, that sort of Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of 80s movie, I mean, give me Commando at least. At least he's going after his daughter. There's a heart there in the middle of all the machine guns. Predator doesn't have any heart.
You heard it here first, folks. Pamela thinks that Commando has a heart.
Yes.
He's looking for his daughter. I didn't say it was a big mushy one. It's just a tiny little cinnamon heart in the middle of the whole thing.
At least you didn't say it had a brain. Okay?
I never said anything about a brain. None of those movies had a brain. That wasn't the point.
Oh, I agree. I mean, except First Blood. But
Oh, of course.
yeah, and I agree with you. It's dumb. It's really dumb. It has no plot. It has no story. It has no heart to drive the story. It's a really bad movie, and I can't understand how it is that the Predator franchise managed to, spawn, one sequel and, two sequels, pardon me.
And a crossover.
Yeah, and two crossovers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And video games, multiple versions, no?
Yeah.
The games are fun. You can make video games with anything. In Predator, it's easy. It's shooting, so you shoot stuff. I think it survived as it evolved. You watch the other ones, they're not as sexist, and the action is better, actually.
That's true. The second one dropped the sexist thing and went to full-on racist against black people.
Exactly. It evolves.
Actually, no. Predator vs. Alien Requiem is actually quite misogynistic.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
It's an homage to the first one, then, if it goes back to sexism.
Homage. Great word.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to number 2. Pamela, back to you. Number 2 pick for...
And I really loved it at the time, mostly because I was surrounded by children who thought it was great, was Home Improvement.
Wow!
I know. And I guess, you know what, it's probably all because of Wilson, this whole secretive, wise neighbor, I don't know. But in retrospect, looking back, what really bugs me about it, and the reason I can't watch it anymore, is that I think it was like the beginning of the man, father, husband is stupid thing that we see in pop culture these days, and it drives me nuts. It's as bad as misogyny might be in Predator, this whole vilification of the man, rendering them completely incapable of doing anything. That's the reason that I can't watch it anymore. I watched it at the time because it was what you had to do on Friday night. You had to watch Home Improvement, and everyone thought Jonathan Taylor Thomas was so cute, and I lived with teenage girls, so that's what happened. But, yeah, no, not anymore. Can't do it.
Yeah, no, you watch that show, and especially now, as a kid, I it's like, oh, he's being silly, blah, blah, blah. But you watch it now, and like the thing that really bugs me, it's sort of in the same vein as you, is, he acts like an idiot, but at the same time, he acts like himself. And then she gets all mad about it, every time gets really judgmental and doesn't trust him and everything. And the more I see it, I'm like, I'm not even that bothered by the fact that he's an idiot. There are idiots out there. I'm bothered by the fact, like, if you hate the fact that he's an idiot this much, why did you marry him? Because you're always having that same fight over and over again. And he's not exactly this sort of duplicitous, subtle guy. You would have known how he is from the third date. Why did you marry this man?
Well, it's the stereotype of marriage. That's what they're trying to say. You don't know what you're marrying, or you do, but you're doing it because you want to beat them up about it for the rest of their natural born lives. At least isn't that what men want to think?
Not on our wedding day.
I don't know, I had a problem with the show from the beginning. Like, yeah, he's an idiot, he's clumsy. So he has this full-time show where the other guy who's actually professional gets, crap, and he's like the doofus that gets all the credit. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way there to begin with. And yeah, his whole family life thing, that was just quite annoying to me, so I hated it from the beginning.
Yeah, no, it's funny, I'm kind of between you two, because I did watch it at first, but I think within 5 or 7 episodes, even as a kid, I was like, oh wait, every episode is exactly the same. It's the same jokes over and over and over again, and that's what turned me off back then. Alright, number 2, pick 4, I can't believe I used to like that, Nick?
The Lord of the Ring trilogy.
The Lord of the Ring trilogy.
Yeah. 12 hours of movie.
Excruciating hours.
I didn't mind how long they were at the beginning. I really enjoyed The Lord of the Rings, the books, so I like what they did with the movies. And then you go back to watch those, and they, special effects, they just look like bad video games now. And the last movie is just like 3 hours of a giant battle with, like, where's my controller? I want to play this. This is ridiculous. This is so boring.
Yeah, especially when Legolas sort of jumps in the air on an elephant or whatever, or a mammoth or whatever. I'm surprised you're using the Lord of the Rings trilogy for this particular episode, because I saw Return of the King with you. And we were both making fun of it while the movie was taking place.
There were funny things in it. Like, the ghosts were completely ridiculous. But, as a whole, I thought it was a good movie. I enjoyed the fighting scenes. Okay, at one point, yeah, okay, enough's enough.
I'm sorry, the fighting scene.
The fighting scene, yeah.
It lasted 2 hours, but it was one scene.
There's a pause in the middle where, they explain that the plan, and Legolas says, it's a diversion. We laughed at that line for days afterwards. But I enjoyed it walking out, and it's like, I rewatched it afterwards, and it's like, this is still pretty good. This is fun, You pause it once in a while when you're sick of the battle. You do something else for an hour, and you go back and you continue the battle. And, it's all good. But you watch it again now, and it's like, I need a remote to play this. This is boring. This is bad.
It's the movie that never ends. But I take a very unpopular position on these. I watched them because I had to.
Oh.
Because, the Lord of the Rings movies, and everyone's talking about them, and I figured I may as well be educated so that I could trash them, with a purpose. But they're based on a series of books that most geeks seem to exalt as the be-all and end-all, and I cannot stand. And therefore, the movies never did anything for me.
Right on, sister. I'm with you all about the books, by the way, and the movies, but the books in particular, they are revered as great pieces of fiction. But you know what I found about people who revere it as a great piece of fiction? Most of them, not all, but most of them do not read it in full. They skip over the songs. Like, if you're an avid reader like Pam and I are...
We are, yes.
You don't skip over that stuff, and it's like the pacing just becomes all off, and it's just an excruciating experience of like, chapter 10, let's describe the tower for 20 pages.
I've never been able to get through them. I invariably end up putting it down about a third of the way through and saying, okay, well, maybe I'll try again in 10 years and I'll understand what everyone's talking about.
I think they're kind of like the beginning of the Dungeons and Dragon thing, so that's why they're mostly revered. Honestly, I like the books, and I skip the damn songs. So what about you, Dimitri? Number 2.
My number 2 pick is a cartoon. It's made by the same people who made Transformers and G.I. Joe and Gem and the Holograms and all of that stuff. And it just ran for 5 episodes, and back then I thought it was the saddest thing ever because I wish they had made a full series out of it. But I don't feel that way anymore. It's Inhumanoids, a 1986 TV show about... And people will recognize my interest right away from this. It's a bunch of scientists who study, the Earth's crust and all of that, and discover monsters beneath the Earth, and end up having to, become superheroes, stopping the demons from coming out. Essentially, they found their gateway to hell.
Okay.
And the demons had their own politics between one another, and they didn't all agree, and the superheroes were discovering a whole new world of supernatural evil and all of that. And I used to think that was the greatest concept ever. I rewatched it again on YouTube, part per part.
Yeah.
Recently, and wow, that did not age well.
What part of it didn't age well?
It was still during the era where cartoons hadn't quite figured out how many pages of script work in animation. Because what happened is that, for those of you who are not familiar with screenwriting, it's 1 page per minute. It's what it is for live action, not sitcoms, but the other. And they tried that at first when they made cartoons, and because they didn't realize that cartoons sort of move a little bit quicker, because there's no acting pauses, and all of these details are sort of lost.
Okay.
So you ended up with something like the original Spider-Man cartoon, where...
Oh! Now I understand. Never having seen it, I understand completely.
These big, long bits of, Spider-Man just going across some background.
With the classic music there.
Now, they corrected that right away by sort of going, we need more pages. And they doubled the number of pages, which is way too much. And you end up with cartoons like Inhumanoids, where everybody's talking super fast while shooting guns and running. And yeah, there's no break. It's crazy. Your head explodes. It's insane.
Didn't G.I. Joe make it work, though? They had way too long of stuff, and they still managed to make something work out of that, didn't they?
You watch the G.I. Joe cartoons, they still suffer from that, but I agree that there's a semblance of a through line going on, and your head doesn't explode.
Some of that stuff I don't want to rewatch because I'd rather remember that I liked it instead of realizing that I was an idiot.
All right, your number 1 pick, Pamela, for things
I actually am afraid to say it because I'm so ashamed of how much I liked Lois and Clark.
I like the first 2 seasons.
But I've tried to watch it again. It comes up randomly on book television, and I can't believe I ever wanted to look like Terry Hatcher or thought that Dean Cain was actually good looking. Or that they had...
Hot. What's wrong with you?
I know, he's not.
No, Terry Hatcher.
Terry Hatcher is not. No, she's skinny and witchy and her lips are too big and her eyes are too close together and she's not a nice person. Even if Lois Lane is supposed to be a nice person, you don't get any warmth out of Terry Hatcher at all. They have no chemistry between them. The storylines are lame. I can't, but I was obsessed when it was on. We had to watch it every Sunday night. And I mean, when they were leading up to the wedding that wasn't, or ended up happening in the clouds, or whatever it was that happened in was it the 4th season? I got the comic book and bought every magazine. I was completely obsessed, and now I'm very ashamed. I must hang my head.
Dean Cain. Dean Cain is possibly the second worst Superman.
Who would be the first?
Tom Welling.
Really? Sorry. Smallville's not old enough for me to hate it yet. Ask me again in 5 years.
Tom Welling is fine as a teenager. He's just not good as Superman.
As Superman.
Yeah. I'm so stuck up, and everybody goes like, "Oh, but Superman's supposed to be stuck up." No, he's supposed to be wholesome. It's not the same thing.
Not the same thing.
Good point.
I don't particularly think Christopher Reeve was that great as Superman myself.
What?
What?
All right, let's throw down the gauntlet. What do you mean?
I guess maybe just because the movies were kind of wooden and the effects were horrible. While I hold Christopher Reeve as a beloved character, his incarnation as Superman, he wasn't that great. I don't think we've had a good Superman yet.
Really?
Yeah, not one that's actually true to who Superman is in the comic book, anyway.
Oh, that's
if
true.
you want to be a true geek about it.
Well,
he was kind of skinny and kind of, I don't know, lacking a little bit in humor. But he was warm enough, I guess.
Well, that's what I like about Christopher Reeve's Superman, is that he captured that warmth. Mm-hmm. That sort of aspect of Superman as this loving protector.
True enough.
And that's what I like about him.
Yeah, I did not see that in Kane.
No, he's smarmy. I was completely hot for the guy in my 20s, and he's actually kind of oily and greasy and not particularly likable.
Wait, do you think maybe that's why you were attracted to him?
Are we making comments about my taste in men now, Dimitri? Really? Ew. Moving on.
Number 1 pick 4 things that you can't believe you liked. Nick.
Well, also kind of a superhero thing. I used to watch, every time it was on, Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. Kevin Sorbo and that guy that plays Iolaus, I keep forgetting his name, Michael Hurst, plays Iolaus, his sidekick. And I thought it was a great series. And you rewatch it now, I was like, wow, this is just bad. The fighting looks fakey. The dialogue is completely stupid. The effects are bad. The costumes don't even look right. It is horrible.
This is the problem, though, with trying to judge these things in retrospect, is that at the time, we wouldn't have noticed. We only notice now because technology and effects have progressed so much that are we being unfair to these shows by judging them by their lame special effects?
Well, there's also our age as well.
True.
Changed.
Yeah, it's true.
People tend to get older with time.
Oh,
Shocking.
wow.
I remember enjoying Hercules simply because I had been a mythology freak since I was 7, so the idea that they were bringing any of these stories to the TV made me happy. I didn't pay attention to the rest
Me too,
of it.
but they didn't follow the mythology at all, so it was
Yeah, well.
it was kind of annoying to me.
But I'm going to say about Hercules that I don't think, the passage of time, technology, and whatnot being necessarily a real issue, because I like Xena. I still like Xena. I watched Xena, and I watched it with the idea that it was made when it was made with the budget that it had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the stories are still entertaining. I think Xena as a character, and certainly the actress portraying her, Lucy Lawless, is more charismatic than Kevin Sorbo's Hercules.
Yes.
And it's much more compelling because she's a much more compromised character than Hercules ever was. So it's a lot more interesting to watch.
Well, maybe it's because she could be more compromised. If you wanted to follow any of the mythology, you couldn't compromise Hercules at all.
That's true, but they didn't follow mythology. They changed him completely. It's just that he's a half-god, so you need those super massive enemies for him to, to fight, or else it's he's fighting a human. All right, he's just going to, flick him, and the guy's going to die. Xena, you could do more interesting stories, like you said, because she was fighting humans, and, different motivations, different stuff. It was a lot more interesting.
So we should be happy that Hercules existed, if only that it led to Xena, Warrior Princess.
I guess so.
Yeah, I think Xena Warrior Princess is a great show. I really do.
Yeah.
And, back in the day, it was sort of, a milestone because it was a show featuring 2 homosexual characters.
Not that they acknowledged that until, the last season.
True.
It just kept all the fanboys going, the idea that it might happen one day.
Did they even acknowledge it? I don't remember them acknowledging it at all.
No, they did.
They did, right in the end.
Obtuse way, but they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think I actually like the fact that he sort of put it off for as long as humanly possible. I never actually had them interacting sexually, even though they interacted as a couple, because it allowed it to be what it is without coming off as fan service. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because the reality is, boys, especially fanboys and lesbians, the immediate reaction would be to objectify them, and that's the opposite of what you'd want to do, Zena.
It gives it credence because it's lesbian fiction that doesn't pander to non-lesbians.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, Hercules? None of that. Well, that leads me actually to my number one pick for things I can't believe I like. I'm going to name 2 porn stars here.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
I was interested with where that was going. Continue.
Yeah, no, I'm actually going to go with another movie, a 1982 movie starring Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy. Most of you have probably guessed what I'm talking about. I'm talking about 48 Hours, and its sequel, Another 48 Hours, which is a great sequel name, granted.
Yeah.
But, as a kid, I saw it as an action flick, and it was sort of compelling because Eddie Murphy is such a charismatic figure, and he was playing with a great street man, Nick Nolte, because he's also a great actor. Watching it again, though, it's all about this lovely curmudgeon guy who happens to be the biggest bigot in cinema history. He spends the entire time putting down Eddie Murphy for being an N-word. And calling him like anything from porch monkey to whatever. Like,
oh my god.
It's
Really?
awful. It's so racist.
1982. It was definitely bordering on completely unacceptable at that point.
And it's all played like, oh, this charming curmudgeon. It's like, no, he's a raging
Wow.
It's All in the Family all over again. Archie Bunker was not much less of a bigot.
No, that is true.
I know nothing about 48 Hours, so maybe if you talk about porn, I could actually chime in and talk a little bit too.
Okay, well, Tara Patrick.
Yeah?
I used to think she was quite attractive. But I look at her again. Okay, granted, like, the Franken booby job doesn't help. It forces me to sort of have to look up a little bit.
I think I'm leaving now, gentlemen.
But her face is awkward and weird, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yes, because it's the face you're looking at when you're
Well,
watching
now that she has Franken boobies,
exactly.
that's where I'm looking. and she's such a bad actress. It's so bad.
Porn!
I don't know. When I go for porn, I don't care about the acting, really, as long as...
Well, no, I don't know.
What's
like,
her voice range when she's faking it? That's really more the question.
but that's what I'm talking about with the acting. It's like, I do not believe her at all.
Okay.
Okay, then.
I think I liked it more back when, didn't have much sex. I didn't realize, because presumably all my girlfriends faked.
Presumably.
Alright, on that note, if you have any questions, comments, want to tell us about your most disappointing porn star or movie or things you can't believe you liked, you can mail us at mail@idiomanic.com or post a comment right below the episode at idiomanic.com. And until then, we will see you next time. That sentence doesn't even make any sense.
You'll hear us later.
Yes, it's true. We do not actually have cameras in your home to see you. It's not something that is.
Wow. Alright.
And
Never mentioned anything, but okay.
He did! He said it's because I'm old!
But I used to love it as a kid, though. I used to watch it all the time and thought John Ritter is so funny. And I still think he's funny. Well, less so since he's dead, but...
Thankfully.
I went there. But yeah, they're passing now, again, in like some of the specialty networks on television, and wow, none of it is remotely funny.
No. Suzanne Summers can't act. She can only hawk diet products.
There's also, because we have sort of evolved the whole, like, he must pass for gay, and whenever the landlord shows up, he must act gay thing is so uncomfortable in today's context.
It's a little bit outdated, it's true. Yeah. The landlords themselves were absolutely pathetic. Mr. Farley, the dirty old man, and Mr. and Mrs. Roper.
Yeah, which had their own spin-off eventually as well.
Did they really?
Yeah, it lasted like something like 7 episodes. Not great.
Nice.
Most spin-offs don't last much more than 7 episodes. Frasier maybe being the only stellar exception.
Yeah, what, did it go 10 years?
10 years or something like that, yeah.
That means Kelsey Grammer has played Frasier for like 20 years.
It's sad. It probably means that Frasier has more of a personality than Kelsey Grammer does.
Oh no, have you read his Wikipedia entry? I do not think so. The man has lived. Actually, listeners, while you're listening to this, if you're surfing the web, take the time. Type Kelsey Grammer on Wikipedia and read the funkiest Wikipedia entry so far. It is so weird. Full of intrigue, murder, and battery, and odd little details, such as somebody being murdered next to Red Lobster, as if that part was important. Yeah, I asked you twice about the podcast. And well, today, to get you all warmed up, we thought we'd start with a really accessible topic.
Accessible.
Accessible.
Mm-hmm. Like a ramp.
Our individual top 3 things we can't believe we used to like. Why don't you get us started, Pam?
Great, put me on the spot.
Yes.
Well, let's do this in chronological order then, shall we? It is tragic that I used to like Three's Company.
Your number 3 is Three's Company.
Three's Company, yes. I see why they made the show in the first place. The idea of a man living with 2 women in a platonic relationship, absolutely shocking. But then why did they have to make him a horn dog?
I used to watch it all the time in syndication when I was a kid. Like, it was like 5 p.m.
I'm not that old, sweetie. I had to watch it in syndication too.
2, 3.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Idiomatic Top 3.
With Nicholas, I am the gaming correspondent for Idiomatic.
That was really short. I'm Pam. I have way too much time to think about stuff that doesn't mean anything.
Nick, I advise you to put your pants back on because clearly you're distracting Pamela. It was a joke about it being short. Ha
All right.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and makers of raunchy little comments, and also movie critic. And, well, first of all, welcome, Pam. It's your first recording with us.
I know, you've been badgering me for years.
I have. But it's maybe Nick's number 3.
Number 3, great show I used to love, and now you watch it and I was like, this is so sweet, it's just sickening. Full House.
Ugh. I used to love that as a kid.
Yeah.
I can't say that I liked it at all.
And, you know, you thought it was funny too. Bob Saget's hilarious for some reason.
No.
And now you're like, oh, this is just bad. None of them have proper comedic timing. It's just, they just throw jokes and maybe they'll be funny. And yeah, it's horrible.
Well, the thing about it is that a lot of the jokes are geared towards getting a reaction from the children. And since the children are, they're too young to be proper actors per se, certainly in that context. Because I'm not saying that we don't have great child actors.
Or that children need to be pandered to.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, they're trying